So let's talk about The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It's a book that flips the whole idea of personal finance on its head. I mean, what if financial success has less to do with how smart you are and way more to do with how you behave? The book's core idea is really simple. Doing well with money isn't a hard science. Nope, it's a soft skill.
Okay, to really see what that means in the real world, just look at these two guys. On one side, you've got Ronald Reed. He was a janitor and a gas station attendant. On the other side, Richard Fiscone, a top Merrill Lynch executive, Harvard MBA, the whole nine yards. Now get this. One of them died a multimillionaire who left millions to charity, and the other one declared bankruptcy. So, how on earth is that even possible?
This is one of the central, kind of mind-blowing paradoxes of the whole book. So, Ronald Reed, the janitor, he just lived a simple life. He saved what little he could, put it into blue-chip stocks, and then he just waited for decades. And those tiny savings, they compounded into over $8 million. Now, Richard Fiscone, the executive, he got greedy. He borrowed a ton of money to live this huge, lavish lifestyle. And when the 2008 financial crisis hit, that leverage completely wiped him out. Poof, gone. And that's the crucial point right there. The janitor's patience completely crushed the executive's massive education and experience gap. Think about it. This doesn't happen in other fields, right? You'd never ever see a janitor perform a better heart transplant than a top surgeon. But with money, behavior isn't just more important than what you know. It's pretty much everything. Okay, this brings us to a really foundational idea in the book, which is that no one is crazy. You know how sometimes you see someone make a financial decision and you just think, what are they doing? That's insane. Well, the thing is, those decisions probably make perfect sense to them. And it all comes down to our own unique personal history with money.
And this quote from the book just frames it perfectly. I mean, think about that. Your personal experiences with money, they're like a tiny fraction of 1% of everything that's ever happened with money in the world. But that tiny little slice, it makes up maybe 80% of how you think the whole system works. Whether you grew up poor or rich, saw crazy inflation or stable prices, that forms the bedrock of everything you believe about money.
Here's a perfect example of what that looks like. Let's say you were born in 1970. In your teens and 20s, you saw the stock market go up like tenfold. It was on fire. You'd probably think stocks are an incredible wealth-generating machine. But what if you were born in 1950? In your formative years, the market basically went nowhere. It was a total dud. You might see stocks as a place where money just goes to die. Same market, totally different worlds, all because of the dumb luck of when you were born. And that brings us to these two huge, unseen forces that are always at play: luck and risk. You really can't talk about one without the other. They're basically two sides of the exact same coin, and they are powerful forces that are completely outside of our control.
Just take the story of Bill Gates. He had this insane, 1 in a million piece of luck. He happened to attend one of the only high schools in the entire world that had a computer back in 1968. That access was everything for what would become Microsoft. But here's the other side of the coin. He had a best friend, Kent Evans, just as smart, just as ambitious. They were planning to start a company together. But Kent was hit by 1 in a million risk. He died in a mountaineering accident before he even graduated high school. It's the exact same magnitude of force, just working in opposite and, in this case, tragic directions.
And that's exactly why we have to be so careful when we look at someone's success or someone's failure. It's so easy to judge. But when you realize the massive role luck plays in success, you also have to acknowledge the role risk plays in failure. The reality is, things are just never as clear-cut as they seem on the surface.
All right, so let's say you manage to navigate the forces of luck and risk and you start building some wealth. Well, this is where the game completely changes. The book makes this brilliant point that getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two totally different skills. In fact, they often require the exact opposite mindset.
Yeah, check this out. To get wealthy, you've got to take risks, right? You need to be optimistic, put yourself out there. But to stay wealthy, that requires humility. It requires a bit of fear, almost a paranoia that makes you realize that everything you've built can be taken away just as fast as you got it. It's a completely different muscle. So the real key to staying wealthy is just being able to stick around long enough for the odds to eventually work in your favor. I mean, look at this chart of long-term economic growth. It's an amazing testament to optimism. But look at what happened along the way. 33 recessions, major wars, pandemics, it's constant chaos. The real winners are just the ones who managed not to get wiped out during all those downturns.
And hey, don't get it twisted. Getting wiped out is super common. Just look at this. We're not talking about little startups here. Almost 60% of public tech companies, big, established corporations have suffered a catastrophic loss. So failure is a constant threat for everyone. And that makes survival the single most important skill you can have.
Which brings us to this key takeaway. If you're building a financial strategy, the cornerstone, the absolute foundation, should be one single word: survival. It just means not getting wiped out, not getting forced to sell at the worst possible time. It's about staying in the game long enough for the real magic to happen, which leads us to maybe the most powerful force in all of finance.
Take a look at this number, $81.5 billion. It's a staggering amount of money, right? It's connected to Warren Buffett, but the interesting thing is what it represents. Any guesses?
Okay, here it is. That's the amount of wealth Warren Buffett accumulated after his 65th birthday, after he was already eligible for Social Security. The vast majority of his success isn't just because he's a great investor, it's because he's been a great investor for like 3/4 of a century. His skill is investing, sure, but his secret weapon? It's time. That is the insane power of compounding.
And this really drills down to such an essential lesson. We're all so obsessed with chasing the highest possible returns, finding the next hot stock. But the real goal? It's just getting pretty good returns that you can stick with for the longest possible time. That longevity is what lets compounding do its magic and create those truly mind-boggling results.
So, why? Why do any of this? Why bother focusing on your behavior, on survival, on compounding? Well, the book argues it's all for one ultimate goal: the single highest dividend that money can ever pay you, and that is freedom.
You know, there was this research done by a psychologist named Angus Campbell, and he found something fascinating. The single most powerful predictor of happiness. It's not your salary, it's not the size of your house or the car you drive. It's having a strong sense of control over your own life. That is what money is ultimately for.
And we're not talking about some abstract idea here. This is what that control actually looks like in real life. It's being able to take a day off when you're sick without panicking about money. It's having the cushion to wait for a job you actually want instead of just grabbing the first thing that comes along. It's not living in terror of your boss. It's being able to handle a medical emergency without it becoming a financial catastrophe. It's retiring when you want to, not when you're forced to. It's literally using money to buy back your time and your options.
And that right there is the deepest purpose of wealth. Forget the fancy cars and the big houses for a second. The true value of money is the autonomy it gives you. It's the ability to wake up in the morning and just say, you know what, I can do whatever I want today. That is priceless. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with that question to really think about. We know what the book says is the highest dividend money can pay, but what does that mean for you? Like specifically, what would a life with a little more control, a little more freedom actually look like for you? It's a powerful thing to consider.